Welcome back. We have some big time full moon energetics coming in today, and it is a full moon in conjunction with a lunar eclipse that is coming in 4 a.m. Eastern time on Friday, November 19th. And we got a lot to talk about. This is a very big energetic. It has been building all week with the Mars opposition to Uranus, which is still activated for this full moon lunar eclipse today. And it is likely to bring some very dynamic changes over the next 2 weeks as we actually head towards the solar eclipse that will be happening around our new moon in Sagittarius. So welcome back to my channel, everybody. Today, like I said, is Friday, November 19th, 2021. My name is Aubrey, and this is my report for the full moon that is happening in Taurus and Scorpio. That is also a lunar eclipse. So, just let's get things started. A lunar eclipse, what does this mean? We have eclipse seasons that happen every 6 months when the full moon and the new moon line up with the nodes of the moon. And that is what's happening right now. Because right now we have the nodes of the moon in the very first degrees of Gemini, actually. This full moon is happening in the end of Scorpio and Taurus. So the moon will be meeting the north node of the moon and shortly after making the exact opposition in our full moon. So that is what is bringing us our eclipses. And again, we have eclipses. They happen every 6 months. The solar eclipses are really like the fulcrum of the energy in terms of eclipses, but there's always usually a lunar eclipse that either happens 2 weeks before or 2 weeks after the solar eclipse. And when the lunar eclipse is happening 2 weeks before the solar eclipse, it's really talking about some type of dynamic action or change that is going to be happening before the solar eclipse. So this is telling us that over the next 2 weeks from this full moon, as we head into our new moon in Sagittarius, we can definitely expect some type of big dynamic changes happening. And also, eclipses, the energy that is present and playing out during eclipses usually takes about 100 days to fully play out in whatever way, in whatever effect, in whatever thing that it's doing. So the energy with this lunar eclipse that is happening now is really telling us that over the next 2 weeks, we should experience some type of very big revelations, changes, transformations coming our way, but that it will take about 100 days for these changes to fully play out. So that is what we're dealing with in terms of the eclipse that is going on alongside this full moon. Now, in terms of the generals for the themes today in this full moon eclipse, we have all planets making aspect, you guys. This is not a common occurrence. Literally every single planet in the zodiac is making an aspect to another planet within a 3-degree orb. And in astrology, when we look at aspects, usually within 3 degrees of an exact aspect is, we consider that a very strong aspect. So all of the planets today for this full moon lunar eclipse are actually making aspect to other planets alongside the full moon. So this is lots of energy that is being activated for exposure with the full moon lunar eclipse, which is like a full moon on steroids, like I said, and really brings even more expanded levels of disclosure and an opportunity for release. And just the energy is so high right now, extremely high energy, and a potential for a mind-blowing time, a mind-blowing experience over this next couple of weeks, not only because we have Mars in an opposition with Uranus, but also this eclipse and full moon happens to be falling only 1 degree off from the ancient fixed star Algol, which has a tendency of ruling, it rules like decapitation, but metaphorically, it can have a tendency to cause people to kind of lose their mind or lose their head or lose their wits or be in a very out of control state. So this is a feature of this full moon energy just because of the placement of it. So that is something that we are really going to want to try to keep in mind, especially with all of this very high anxiety, nervous tension, huge energy levels. This full moon is actually in a square to Jupiter as well, really expanding and blowing things up even more. And it's really bringing a release in tension based on exposure of truth and a return of the magic, actually, and true authentic love. And it's all about metamorphosis and transformation and healing, very much about healing and awakening and new connections starting to form, and just recognizing the true value of, or recognizing what we truly value and what that translates into in terms of our experience, our desires, and what we really want going forward. So, all right, now let's talk about what else we have going on today in terms of these energetics. There are a lot of threads, you guys, that are making up today's energetic blueprint, and I'm really going to try and attempt to weave them into like a coherent tapestry that we can understand. There's a lot going on here. Let me just run down the aspects, first of all, that are happening today in conjunction with this full moon lunar eclipse. First of all, of course, we have our full moon occurring, which is the sun coming into an exact opposition to the moon and in a conjunction to the north and the south node. This is creating our eclipse, and the north and the south node. This is also destiny and karma, like the path ahead, what we are supposed to be gravitating towards, the lessons we need to learn and what we need to release, let go of, and move on from in order to go through that process. So eclipses generally, because of their placement with the nodes of the moon, have a tendency of activating both destiny and karma. So, inherently we have that going on in the energetics with this full moon today. Now, like I said, it is also in a square to Jupiter, and it's also in a sextile to Pluto. So the full moon itself is making aspect to Jupiter and Pluto, and this is definitely going to be having some truth breaking like out of the shadows. Definitely we will see with this, and I will talk about this more as we get through the report. We also have, Mars in an opposition to Uranus. Now, Mars has moved a degree. Mars is at 14 degrees of Scorpio today. Uranus is at 13 degrees. So this is no longer an exact to the degree opposition. But in astrology, 1 degree orb is pretty much just as good. So we are still dealing with a very powerful Mars-Uranus opposition that is really trying to break us out of anything that is restricting us or holding us back from aligning with authentic truth. Venus is also a major player today, you guys. We have this full moon happening in Taurus. Venus is the ruler of Taurus, and she is currently in Capricorn. Venus is also today in an exact to the degree trine to Uranus in her sign of Taurus. So we could definitely see some major upheavals in terms of governments, establishments, authority as we go through this next couple weeks and head towards, throughout this 90-day, 100-day period that the eclipse windows really take to unfold. Venus is making an exact trine to Uranus, and she is also making a sextile to Mars. So Venus very much activated by sign placement, activated by transit as well today. We also have Mercury, you guys, 22 degrees of Scorpio, making a 1 degree orb trine to Neptune in Pisces, a water sign trine between Neptune and Mercury. We had this energy in effect yesterday. This is really helping us to see through illusions and to gain clarity and bringing in tremendous spiritual assistance and spiritual guidance and ability to connect to our intuition and be guided through through spirit, essentially. We also have Saturn, 9 degrees of Aquarius, in an exact sextile with Chiron at 9 degrees of Aries. And that is literally all the planets: the sun, the moon, Venus, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto, Saturn, Chiron. They're all making within a 3 degree orb connection to at least one other planet today, which is quite profound, especially considering we are in full moon lunar eclipse energetics. And it just makes me feel like there is just so much energy and activity going on that is pushing things to happen, to expose things to us, and to help us come to a point where we can release what needs to be released so that we can go through this metamorphosis, this transformation, this alchemical internal process that is really trying to evolve us collectively on an energetic and vibrational level, translated into a physical, tangible, material level. And this is a process that we're going through right now, and there are going to have to be a lot of shakeups in a lot of areas of our lives in order so that things can settle back down in a way that is conducive to this forward movement and towards the age of authenticity and the age of truth, the age of Aquarius, which is the trajectory, the energetic trajectory that we are currently heading on now, and why all of this craziness is happening right now. It's breaking us free from anything from the past that has been out of alignment with our truth, our authenticity, and our real, genuine inner value, and helping us to really see those things, discover them, break ourselves free, and really gain a lot of wisdom through our experiences and come into self-mastery so that we can go on this pursuit in alignment with the Aquarian frequencies and the Aquarian energetics. And this full moon lunar eclipse today is, especially with Mars in opposition to Uranus, Jupiter in Aquarius in square to this, fundamental in moving us forward in that direction. So all the planets making aspects today, they're all at play in one way or another within a 3-degree orb connection to other planets. And without even breaking down these aspects with, without even breaking everything down in terms of this full moon today, there is just a lot happening, and it's all pushing, like I said, for freedom, liberation, awakening, truth, rectification, for sure. A rebalancing of the scales is going on right now, and ultimately metamorphosis and transformation. Now I want to talk just for a brief minute about the specific symbolism that is in play today as a result of the planets themselves, where they're located, and the frequencies that they are discharging. It's really telling us about like the context and what the underlying purpose is of this big, huge activation that we have going on today. And this information is brought to us by the Sabian Symbols, which are a group of symbols or energetics that represent each and every one of the 360 degrees of the zodiac. Whenever a planet is at a specific point discharging a specific degree, making an aspect, we can look to the Sabian Symbols, and they give us more information about why the specific aspect is happening at this point in time in the context of this grand unfolding cosmic blueprint that is constantly and perpetually carrying us through time and space, and right now, as I just said, is moving us in a vibrational trajectory towards the age of Aquarius. So I always like to look at the Sabian Symbols because they just give us more information about why any given transit is happening in the context of this unfolding cosmic story, this cosmic blueprint. And so I'm actually going to read you guys all of the Sabian Symbols for all of the planets today because they're all in effect. And the Sabian Symbols are kind of pointing to some very specific themes. And I just find it to be interesting and relevant. And I think that you guys might want this information as well. So we'll start with the sun. The sun today is at 28 degrees of Scorpio. Oh, yes. And I should have said in the beginning, the exact degree where this full moon is happening is 27 degrees and 15 minutes of Taurus in Scorpio, and it is happening at around 4 a.m. Eastern time. So we're going to be waking up today to this energy very strong and coming in. Now, when we read the Sabian Symbols, we always round up a degree because energy moves in waves, and it's like by the time that a specific degree is being discharged, we're really already pulling in and picking up on like the tones and the resonance, the frequency of the incoming wave. So when we're reading the symbolism of each degree, we always round up because that is really the wave that is coming in and that we're picking up. So 27 degrees and 15 minutes of Taurus, we would look to 28 degrees interpreting the symbolism derived from the Sabian Symbols. And at 28 degrees of Scorpio, the placement of the sun today for this full moon, that Sabian symbol is the king of the fairies approaching his domain. The earth today, always in a direct opposition to the sun and in conjunction with the moon for this full moon, is at 28 Taurus, a woman pursued by mature romance. So this is telling me, like, just in the context of everything that's going on, what this is pushing towards is truly a return of the magic and true, authentic, real, mature, grounded love, real, true, authentic value. And that is really a very concise sort of definition of what we can expect as we move into the age of Aquarius, which is the age of truth, authenticity, real, genuine everything, and self-knowledge, self-empowerment, self-understanding, self-mastery, the return of the magic and humanity's ability to use these natural laws, natural existing laws of reality to begin to actually co-create with God instead of being more controlled by the subconscious shadow side issues that have been dictating a lot of our experiences and reality up until this point. It is the age of self-enlightenment and the age of self-mastery. It is a return of the magic and a return of the truth. And this is very much represented symbolically by the position of the sun, the earth, and the moon today for this full moon. We have Mercury at 22 degrees of Scorpio today. Hunters protected by heavy clothing are shooting wild ducks. Mercury is the messenger. This speaks to me of an information war. 13 degrees of Capricorn, the position of Venus today, an exact trine to Uranus while we have a moon in Taurus. A fire worshiper meditates on the ultimate realities of existence. This degree is crazy to me, you guys, considering the fact that Venus is in a sextile with Mars and an exact trine to Uranus while the moon is in Taurus, because this degree is very Uranian and Martian in its nature. A fire worshiper. That's obviously Mars. Mars is the fire planet, meditates on the ultimate realities of existence. The ultimate realities of existence, that's ruled by Uranus. And this degree, specifically symbolically, is speaking to the action that is going on with Mars and Uranus, while Venus is aspecting both of these planets and the moon is in her sign. So Venus is, really talking about big activity that may be going on over the course of this next few weeks, next few months, that sort of topples establishments, authorities, governments, leaders in some type of a way because of her placement in Capricorn right now. We have Mars today, 14 degrees of Scorpio, telephone linesman at work installing new connections. We are upgrading our frequencies and our energy connections. We are being recalibrated collectively in terms of our energy bodies as a human species. Jupiter moves to 25 degrees of Aquarius today for this full moon. That degree is a butterfly with the right wing more perfectly formed. In this degree, I always feel like the right wing is synonymous for the right brain, which rules our ability to connect to our intuition and our spiritual guidance and the more invisible and spiritual planes of reality. And this is telling me, that we can expect with this full moon a spiritual awakening, a right brain awakening, seeing things in a different way, and that exposing truth to us in some type of a way, because Jupiter is the planet that rules truth, making this square to the full moon in Taurus and Scorpio while being in Aquarius. This is the higher truth for the good of all, breaking through and having to do with a spiritual awakening at this degree as well. We have, what else? Saturn, 9 degrees of Aquarius. Saturn also recently moved degrees, and this Sabian symbol is a flag is seen turning into an eagle. This is talking about a metamorphosis and a transformation into something that truly resonates to liberty and freedom and transcendence. We have Uranus at 13 Taurus, a porter carrying a mountain of heavy baggage, release, something being taken off of our hands, a burden being lifted. We have Chiron at 9 degrees of Aries, remember an exact sextile to Saturn today, a crystal gazer, connecting with spirit, guiding our way forward. Neptune, 21 degrees of Pisces today in a trine with Mercury, a little white lamb, a child, and a Chinese servant, speaking to embracing innocence, like truth and our inner child with this. We have Pluto at 25 degrees of Capricorn, making the sextile to this full moon, a store filled with precious oriental rugs, talking about inner value and inner resources. The North and the South node, responsible for our eclipse today, 2 degrees of Gemini and Sagittarius, the North node at 2 degrees of Gemini. Santa Claus, furtively filling stockings on Christmas. Blessings are coming in the future, you guys. There's abundance, blessings, gifts waiting for us once we can release the choppy waters, the choppy emotions of our past, and move on towards pursuing the gifts that are waiting for us. The South Node, 2 degrees of Sagittarius, the ocean covered with white caps, choppy emotions, choppy waters in our past, but we need to let go and move on so that we can move towards embracing the gifts that are waiting for us in the future. So all of this symbolism in effect today in one way or another through direct aspect that planets are making. Very, very profound and interesting symbolism. And again, I really do see this as a collective awakening, transformation, transcendence, metamorphosis, return of the magic and the truths of what did that Venus symbol say? The ultimate realities of existence, the king of the fairies approaching his domain, a reinvigoration of the real, true laws of this reality and how they work, and the magical experiences, the spiritual experiences that they can represent. So, very interesting symbolism in correspondence to the very interesting astrological energetic aspects we have today as well. So now let's talk about the full moon itself, specifically the real big business of the day that we can expect going on alongside these aspects. And like I said, we can expect this full moon to trigger action over the next 2 weeks. It might not be something that occurs like on this day with the eclipses, although with all of this really crazy powerful energy right now and Mars in opposition to Uranus, big things could be happening. But there is likely something over the next 2 weeks of a very big nature that will transpire leading up to the solar eclipse that may take about, like I said, 100 days to play out. So Taurus and Scorpio, the polarities of this full moon. And it's interesting, you know, this is just kind of like across the board, because even in Vedic astrology, it's because of the late placement in Taurus and Scorpio, it's still happening in Taurus and Scorpio, even on the Vedic system. So any way you slice it, Taurus and Scorpio are for sure the themes of this eclipse and this full moon. And it's trying to expose the truth of what we've really built. Is it in authentic alignment with who we are becoming now and what we are becoming reacquainted with within ourselves? What has really been going on under the surface? And in square to Jupiter, you guys, this is truth breaking through and expanding our ability to understand and release. And with Jupiter at that degree, the right wing of a butterfly more perfectly formed, like I said, this is a spiritual awakening and a metamorphosis and a transformation in alignment with spiritual knowing, spiritual knowledge, spiritual connection, and spiritual truth. And that is actually what is driving this entire process. Truth breaking free, breaking us free to align with our authentic self. Jupiter in Aquarius in a square to this full moon in Taurus and Scorpio. And in a sextile to Pluto, one of the rulers of this Scorpio cycle that we're in right now. This is triggering deep internal healing, purging, release, regeneration, catharsis, transformation, recognition of our true inner value. Pluto right now is at 25 degrees of Capricorn, a store filled with precious oriental rugs. What value do we truly hold inside of us? What resources do we hold inside of us that we can create value for ourselves with? Value in resources and the power that they represent to help us fuel essentially our lives. And also, again, this full moon eclipse is only 1 degree off from conjunction with that fixed star L goal. And we really, especially with all of this Uranus energy in play as well, opposite Mars, need to do our best to keep our mind about us, to stay mentally grounded, to it is just mind-blowing energy. Like I said, it's not just the fact that we have this in the conjunction to a goal. We also have Uranus very active and in opposition to Mars, the planet of just like quick action. And both of these planets can rule accidents and stuff like that. And speaking like before we think, taking impulsive action. So we just really want to be sure that we are thinking things through and that we are allowing ourselves to be guided from an internal place of like our higher self, and not allowing ourselves to be just caught up in all this chaotic, nervous tension and energy, and really just losing our minds through this process, because that is very indicated as well. So something to keep in mind as we go throughout this next couple week period. Now this being a lunar eclipse as well means things happening now are likely, like I said, to play out over the next 100 days. And this energy is really increasing the energy of this full moon. Like I said, it's like a full moon on steroids, really exposing a lot that has been hidden in the darkness, with it being the lunar eclipse, and then providing, this window for release as well. Eclipses eclipse things, like they can take things out of our lives. And with the full moon, this is also our window period for releasing what we don't want to carry with us into the next cycle of growth. And, we're in this window right now, and eclipses can open and close these faded windows in time and experience, really. And there may be some big endings or disclosures coming with this, leading to rebirth into an entirely new way of connecting to and experiencing our reality. Remember, Mars right now is at that degree, telephone lineman at work, busy installing new connections in opposition to Uranus. This is a very frequency-based active change that is happening to our energy bodies. And it's going to change not only like the calibration of our own frequencies, but the type of frequencies that we are attracting to ourselves. And it's going to be bringing in a lot of new connections. And that is something that we can expect over the next couple weeks with these energetics in effect as well. Mars is directly speaking about new connections coming in. We are getting a galactic upgrade energetically right now with this, and a collective recalibration is what is going on energetically. Just to talk for a quick minute about the other aspects that we have in play today. Mars in opposition to Uranus. If you guys missed my videos for the past 2 days, definitely check those out. I talked all about this energetic, and it is still in play today. And fundamentally, what this is doing is radical liberation from anything that has been keeping us in a place of self-sabotage or out of activating our true potential and our true destiny and aligning with our authentic truth, discovering the value that we hold inside of us, and being able to turn that into a resource that can provide us with value in our external life. Okay. That is very active. It's also the Great Awakening. Mars in opposition to Uranus, uncovering secrets, uncovering things that have been hidden from us, a great awakening to a lot that has been going on, an active awakening to a lot that has been going on behind the surface. And this is just mind-blowing stuff. Again, Mercury opposite Uranus. With this as well, I want to say be very careful with water and electricity. Mars in Scorpio, Uranus, okay? Be very careful when it comes to water and electronics, water and electricity for sure, and also driving under these energetics. Venus in the sextile to Mars and the trine to Uranus. Again, this is shocks and surprises in relation to finding things out. Mars in Scorpio, or big surprises in regards to financial institutions or governments or leaders or authority figures, or just like the establishment generally. Capricorn, where Venus is right now, in a trine to Uranus, while the moon is in her sign, speaking to Venus in a sextile to Mars as well, talking about Mars opposition Uranus. Active things that are happening and big changes happening now are likely to impact the Capricorn areas of life because of Venus's placement and all of this. And again, that is authority, establishment, government, rules, like the top of things, like the things that, like, restrictions and limitations and boundaries, like some types of changes going on in terms of government, people in charge, leadership, authority, stuff like that. Mercury, y'all, in the trine to Neptune today. I talked about this in my video for yesterday too, because this aspect was exact yesterday. Today it is very close. It's only 1 degree orb and still very, very much in effect. This is, this is seeing through illusion, and this is having, like, the wool being sort of pulled off of our eyes, like being able to see through the fog, gaining some type of clarity. And it also brings like a tremendous psychic energy and a very strong, like, mental, spiritual connection, like an ability to, it's like the mind and the intuition are almost fused under these energetics. And it again, like, brings the connotations of a spiritual understanding or spiritual awakening in conjunction with these energetics. And it's a wake-up call, really, mentally, the fog being cleared in the midst of all of these energetics that are also pushing for truth and clarity, and that being the source of the motivation and the inspiration that helps us to break free from things that have been restricting our truth and our authenticity up until this point. Saturn, y'all, 9 degrees of Aquarius, a flag is seen turning into an eagle. And Chiron in an exact sextile at 9 degrees Aries, a crystal gazer. Metamorphosis is coming with this, talking about seeing the future, connecting with spirit, and being able to see a path ahead. The path ahead looks like a flag turning into an eagle, which would be like the ultimate in personal liberation, collective liberation, freedom, and transcendence. That's like, the crystal gazer, like, that is what spiritual guidance would suggest is coming down the road, which also lines up with the North Node talking about Santa Claus furtively filling Christmas stockings, transcendence, liberation, blessings, freedom, like, coming our way once we go through this vibrational shift, this vibrational process. So, you know, like all, and again, Chiron, this is the master frequency. And this really is the linchpin in this transformation into the age of Aquarius. What is going on with Chiron, the hero's journey, victimhood into self-mastery, internal alchemization, which is the process of changing our vibration and aligning with authenticity and truth, and then being a guide and a shining light for others who are going through that same experience to follow. And over time, this is how humanity collectively transcends our trauma and our state of victimhood into a state of self-mastery, self-knowledge, self-understanding, and co-creation with God and universe, which again is the age of Aquarius. And Saturn, this is duty, obligation, responsibility, hard work, focus. And so there is a lot of work going into this self-mastery right now with Chiron and Saturn at these degrees, and it is leading to this ultimate form of personal liberation and transcendence with Saturn at this degree right now. So, you know, overall, you guys, the full moon that we have today, this lunar eclipse in square to Jupiter, this is mind-blowing truth that breaks us free from our darkness, essentially. We are slaying our demons. We are breaking free from the things that have held us back, generationally even. Like, this is a big point in time. We're breaking through generational collective karma and transcending our past with this and seeing the truth of it. Spiritual awakening, spiritual awareness all the way. And this is also a spiritual battle, and it's playing out on higher levels. And humanity, honestly, like, we're involved vibrationally in this as we collectively battle our own inner demons, like I said, through these transits. And we are being very supported in these processes, you know, spiritually and galactically and vibrationally, with all of this energy pushing us to pushing and helping us to break free from these self-imposed limiting programs that have kept us in a state of being out of alignment with everything that we need to do to come into our true potential, which is happening now, and which is the process that is activating the age of Aquarius. This is a spiritual battle playing out, and we are all warriors in that battle, and we are fighting it as we fight our own inner demons and as we break out of our own personal prisons that we've built for ourselves up until this point in time. Humanity is breaking free from the grip of the lower frequencies and being born again in alignment with God's divine vision of us. The truth is returning along with the magic and the power of the human spirit. We are turning the keys that unlock ancient secrets, and we are waking up in a whole new world. The return of the magic, the return of truth, the birth of a new paradigm, and the shift of the ages. Though, you guys, it's just not an easy process. It's not quick, it's not painless, but it's a total metamorphosis and a total transformation on the deepest levels, and alchemization is what's required. But we, like I said, are being divinely supported, and it's going to happen. Divine intervention is alive and well right now and is really conducting all of this. Anger may be very high, of course, but we have to remember, again, to keep our heads about us, and we are moving in a positive direction regardless of what needs to fall in order to get there. So, you guys, that is what I have for my report on the full moon lunar eclipse that we have going on today in Taurus and Scorpio. I hope I was able to provide something for you guys that can give you some type of clarity, an idea or understanding of what to expect as we move through these next few weeks, these next few months. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and come back with me tomorrow